Welcome in, everybody, to another great edition of The Rundown here on Big Rapids Daily News. Brandon Worth, Jack Heckman, getting you ready for the CSAA Fall Sports Slate here on Big Rapids Daily News. Thanks for all that are watching with us on YouTube, or if you are listening with us over the airwaves on 107.7 FM. We appreciate you. We got a great show for you here indeed today, Jack. We're talking volleyball today. We're previewing what happens this next coming year, or at least what we think compared to what the results from last year. Some key players and key games and key teams to watch out for. And we have an exclusive interview for you here. Big Rapids hockey star Brody Ososki joined us here on the show to talk about his recent developments at the showcase for junior hockey and all the great things upcoming for the hockey season. So we'll get you that here in just a moment. Jack, how are you doing on this, what is a very early stormy recording session today that we are now on the third try of recording thanks to all of our great lightning bolts in the air?
I'm doing pretty great. It's been definitely an interesting way to start the day.
Indeed. We're recording this early this week, and it is storming right now outside, so we're going to stay on track as much as we can. But before we get you to the interview room, big thanks to our sponsors, including Denny's Muffler and Brakes in downtown Big Rapids. You can find them along State Street, general auto repair, as well as work on mufflers, brakes, as well as you can get your oil changed there. You can find out more information by searching them on Facebook, or you can give them a call today. As well, thanks to our great supporters at Eagle Village. Find a job where you can maximize your potential, helping in the lives of youth in all sorts of facets. You can find their employment opportunities online at eaglevillage.org. Eagle Village, where potential soars. With that, we send you to the interview room with Big Rapids hockey star and development prospect Brody Ososki. Now joining us, a very special guest here on the Rundown, an exclusive interview with the Big Rapids hockey man himself right now, who's playing some very good hockey in the months of the summer. Brody Ososki joining us. Brody, thank you so much for hopping on the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me out here.
Absolutely. I know it's summer, so naturally we're talking about hockey, right? And being shivering in the rink. But I know recently you've had some very good success on the ice, including a showcase in Chicago that sounds like went pretty well. Talk about that experience and being able to perform in front of some scouts and being able to perform at your best, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was great. Someone I know had me referred to a coach, and that coach actually invited me out to the showcase. I was very excited about that, and yeah, we just went out there and I tried to show off like my talents, my skills, and all that stuff, and I think it went very well.
For
Yeah.
sure. Talk about the environment as far I know you're competing on, big rink ice and just having that whole experience as well. Because, I mean, not too often you get to go play sports in Chicago here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it was great all around. The players there were really good, and there was really good competition, very intense, and it's very good to go out there and skate with those guys because it ups your game a lot. And the coach had me out, and then we talked for a little bit, and he said he wanted to invite me out for like a fall week of practice, maybe the training camp and stuff. So that'd be very good.
Rock on. And especially with these kind of showcases, it takes a lot of work to get there. Just talk about the preparations that you've made over the summer, because I know you've also been tied up with playing a little Summer Legion baseball as well at the time. Just talk about that, share, and what the summer was like for you.
Yeah, it's fun. Baseball's always the summer sport, and it's good to focus on that and focus on hockey too. I know that we had summer games and during the week every Tuesday, and just trying to work around baseball and that. And my coach, Coach Scarpelli, he did a great job of letting me go to that and fill in some baseball too.
Absolutely. And I know he was very excited to have you as well as all the summer league players. But talk about especially, we're talking really about the showcase and it was very successful for you. I know you got a lot of scouts looking your way, which is awesome. Talk about what really you love most about hockey. I mean, we've had Brad Merrick on this show not too long ago who at the NHL level, and he's talked about his aspirations since he was in high school. What's that like for you as far as what you love about the sport of hockey and maybe why it's your pursued one that you want to go after maybe to the college level?
Yeah, Brad Merrick's, he's a good guy. Always looked up to him, and I think it's good to keep your head on track and keep working, put your head down and work, and just always give 110%.
Absolutely. When it comes to the love of hockey, when was that age and as far as when you really started to love the time of your life that you really started to love the sport the most?
Yeah, we made a run in like eighth grade to the state championship, and that was like a blast. So I'm like, man, I want to do this again. So coming into freshman year of high school, I just started like the sport of hockey just grew so much, and I was like so excited for the next 4 years and stuff.
A lot of people play the sport, right? And it's obviously one that you have to be in good chemistry with teammates. You got to be fast, you got to be physical. For you, what is your favorite part about hockey individually?
Just to go out and kind of play with your teammates that you grew up with. And it's fun when you have our atmosphere in Big Rapids. We have really good fans, and that fan base is just so good there to support you and stuff. And I think that's what it's all about and stuff.
Very nice. I know we got some time before you guys start games back up here later on in the late fall, early winter. But talk about last year, especially a very good year. Won some really big games, had some great environments as well. I know you personally had a very successful season as far as, 32 points, 19 assists, 13 goals. Just talk about the season that you had last year and maybe, from what you're coming back with this year and what you've seen developments with you and your teammates as far as looking ahead to this year.
So last season we had probably the hardest schedule in like the past couple of years, and that's really proud to, win those big games and keep working. I mean, we had our ups and downs, and that's okay. So I like to make a run this year. We have a solid amount of guys coming back, but our defensemen are a little short because we lost all our defensemen last year. And
What's the number one game that you have right now circled on the calendar if you can pick just one? I know there's probably many, and you can say many as if there's more than one, but what's that game that you're looking forward to the most?
yeah, I know we play Grand Rapids Catholic Central. I have some friends on that team that it's always fun to play against them. And the 131 Cup, that's always a big one. I love that game. And yeah.
Going across a news article recently that was talking about you, and there was a quote somewhere in there for all the goals you score and all the plays that you make that you actually love passing and getting your teammates set up the most. Just talk about that mindset and as far as, how you perceive mentally in the game, in the moment when you're out on the ice.
Yeah. Me personally, I feel like assists are more important than goals because without them, obviously you can't score. So I just think that setting up your teammates and like making them have those goals and like it's just gonna make the team so much better. So
What do you think the expectations are for you with yourself as a player, as well as where you think this team can be this year coming up this season?
yeah, so our coach actually talked to us and we finished at a good level of like intensity and as our team and how we played. So I'd like to start from that endpoint and just keep building, just keep those expectations high and keep building as we go.
For sure. Shout out to Coach Blashill if he's watching this program. Indeed. Really rounding out this interview, I know you've been training a lot over the summer. Talk about the work that you've put in, working on multiple sports, not only going out on the baseball diamond, competing for the Ducks, but also working on the hockey craft ahead of the season as well as for the showcase recently.
Yeah. Stick handling outside, shooting pucks outside. I actually just made a team called MDHL, and we had our first last two games the past weekend, and those went very well. The intensity in those games, it's very exciting. I love it.
For sure. The developmental league too. So you're playing with a lot of the high school talent, right? That's, in that same as far as class range and ability level and a lot from a lot of different walks of life as well, player wise.
Yeah. Those players are great. They're good teammates and they push you, and I really like playing with them and I think it's really good.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Brody, for joining us. One last question for you. What is your ultimate goal to get in hockey, and what do you think it's going to take to get there?
Yeah, so I'd like to play junior league for that showcase, and then after maybe a year or two, or we'll see how it kind of plans out, go play college hockey somewhere, see how that goes.
Wonderful. Well, we wish you the best of luck, Brody, and especially the Cardinals on the ice this season. And thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Huge shout out to Brody for joining us on the show. Appreciate having him on, talking a little bit of hockey, which we did earlier this year. You can check that out in some of our previous episodes. We broke down Red Wings hockey as well as high school hockey. And you can find all of the old episodes of the rundown on YouTube as well as WBRN.com. Let's get to work, Jack. We're talking volleyball today. Obviously, the net theme, as you saw in the title with hockey and volleyball. We're talking on volleyball here results of last year overall, it was a very competitive top end of each CSAA division, respectively. We look at the Red, Reed City, Newaygo, and Grant battling up top. All three of those teams doing very well, almost too well to the point in the regular season. They all split at the top in a three-way tie in the regular season standings at 8-2, followed by Big Rapids, Chip Hills, and Tri-County. But overall, those three teams really did put on a show. Reed City overall had the record edge, but you saw a lot of the good things out of Grant and Newaygo as well this year. It was a very competitive conference with a lot of players we'll highlight as well from our first team honorees.
Yeah, most definitely. Like you said, you have three teams to get 8 wins in the conference, 8-2, and then the bottom end of that conference definitely not as good as that top end by far. The top end had some top end talent, much better coaching, a lot better players. They were just playing better, coming in every day and getting the job done.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of those key contributing players that we'll highlight right now from the CSAA first team and honorable mention list from last year. Peyton Beaucamp of Grant was the leader in the number 1 jersey, as well as Amaya Lathrop of Newaygo. Josie Plune of Grant, a senior, she'll be departing the Tigers, as well as Kaya Schultz from Newaygo. Ruby Hughes of Newaygo, Kate Strasser of Big Rapids, Emma Johnston of Reed City, a talented junior for Coach Patterson, Hannah Abbott of Chippewa Hills, Danica Gee of Grant, as well as Maisha Bumgardner for the Coyotes, and Austin DeBoy of Chippewa Hills, the lone freshman on the first team honorees. And for Grant especially, I know we'll talk about them a little bit later, they're going to be losing some firepower on the floor with a couple of those seniors going to be on their way out. So they're going to be a team we're especially going to be watching, and Reed City looks to be a very good team on paper from what they're bringing back this last year. 3 juniors on the all-conference list, and all of them are coming back for a senior season.
Yeah, most definitely. That's definitely an intriguing team to talk about. Those top 3 teams are really all intriguing, what they're bringing back and what they're sending out. This is a conference that was bringing in talent and sending out talent at a high clip, especially at those top 3 teams. But right, you're talking about Grant here, who's going to have 2 departures that are going to be key, and that's going to really suck for this team and how they're going to be able to get back to that top level at another 8-win in the conference team. And then you go to a team like Newaygo. Newaygo's got 2 returners, and that's going to be huge. That might give them that benefit of the edge over a team like Grant. And then Reed City bringing back their only 2 first-team conference players. That's going to be huge for that Coyote squad.
Should be a confident Coyote squad indeed. As we look now at the honorable mentions from this past year, Ella Souls of Newaygo, a talented sophomore, will be returning for the Lions. Sydney DeHart of Tri-County, Isabel Dukes of Big Rapids, Hunter Howard of Chippewa Hills in the Warrior program, Morgan Hammond of Reed City, and Reese Gragg of Grant. Those are your honorable mentions from last year. So some notes especially about these conference teams. We mentioned Reed City is certainly going to be one to watch with all of those first teamers coming back for their senior seasons this year. Definitely saw a tough schedule, the highest opposing win percentage at .472 amongst conference teams last year. Didn't have the highest MPR of all of our conference teams. We'll get to the White here in just a little bit. But Newaygo was a team. They won their county tournament. They showed that they can compete with those top teams in those big games. Just didn't make quite the run that they were looking for in the postseason, but they can thank the regional contender of Fremont from last year, who really slayed the entire field as far as from that county goes to concern. And Grant was a team that really first set momentum they utilized very, very well in a lot of games this year. They overall had 4+ MPR wins, so they beat 4 teams on paper that they shouldn't have as far as the Michigan Power rating goes. So they showed that they could play up as well.
Yeah, most definitely. That's a huge thing. If you have the ability to play up, and that goes for all sports, not just volleyball, you have the ability to play up, you have those ability to knock off those teams. That's how you go on those playoff runs every single year to win the playoffs. If you're not that top team, you got to beat the top team. And that just goes to show us, how do you become the top team? You become the top team by beating teams who on paper are better than you. But you know what? Volleyball, sports, none of it's played on paper. It's all going out and played on the field or the court. And that's exactly what they were able to go out and do, getting those 4 MPR plus wins.
Absolutely. And one other note for Newaygo, Coach Shemen's team really did a great job of really playing a lot of these matches, especially after what was a really tough start to the year. I believe they were 2-9 overall, according to my notes. And then they ended up winning, I believe it was 6 of their next 8. So they really turned that season around in a hurry. But a lot of those tough teams, and speaking of tough teams, Big Rapids having a really tough strength of schedule this year. They just had a little bit of a skid near the end of the season, kind of got off on the wrong foot to finish the year, but they're looking for a bounce back year this year. You look at Chippewa Hills, very competitive, just looking for the consistency part of it. And Tri-County, they have a lot of young talent. We saw that last year, competed well in some matches, but they're looking for a lot of that experience to grow into this year's program. So we'll wait to see, and those teams, maybe they can make some noise this year as well.
Yeah, most definitely. You can kind of group these teams together where they got to combine 6 wins in conference. But I mean, these are all teams who are, we talk about it all the time on the show, just trying to get on the right foot, trying to get that first step in the right direction. And Big Rapids, 3 wins, Chippewa Hills, 2 wins, Tri County, 1 win, Tri County without a player on the first team, all conference. But Chip Hills is going to have a returner coming off that first team. They're going to have to, and it was a freshman in Austin Du Bois. How are you going to be able to go out and get to the 5 wins in conference? If this is a team that sits 500 in conference, that's a step in the right direction. You build on that, you get 7 wins. Then on, you get 8 wins. You're starting to be in the talks of the best team in the conference. And how do you keep stacking wins? But a team between Big Rapids and Tri County, those are teams who are just trying to flip this switch. And a team like Big Rapids who had success previously, how do they get back to that era of trying to get, same thing. You got to get to the 5 wins, then you get to 6, then 7, and then 8. And that's when you're getting in the conference conversation. But a team like Tri County, maybe that's not the situation. Maybe you're looking at just trying to get to 3 wins. You're just trying to get to 2 wins. This is a team like Tri County. They got to get out on the right foot and they got to start winning some games to build for the future. And not really, I mean, it's a full rebuild for Tri County, and that's what they kind of have to do. They have to go out and start stacking wins to get some progress in the season.
For sure. And you look at where these teams were last year overall, a lot of those top teams around the 500 mark naturally from their strength of schedule, mentioning those M37 teams in Reed City. I expect that they can be there next year, especially for some of them above that 500 mark, like we see in the CSAA-White, which we'll get to in just a second. I think we see an elevated win total for Big Rapids, especially considering their strength of schedule, bringing back some key pieces and avoiding that last skid this last year. That can certainly improve their win total because that was really just an unfortunate set of luck. And then we'll see what Tri-County and Chip Hills have to try to rebuild their programs respectively. Let's flip over to the CSAA-White. 2-horse race last year. We kind of predicted this looking back, and it was especially in the preseason we knew Kent City and Moy Stand were going to be two teams to beat. Pleasantly surprised, an incredible performance, I would say, from White Cloud this last year. They had a lot of experience on that team. There was a lot of noise potentially in the preseason, like maybe, but looking at the schedule, would they be able to rope it together? And then they did. They finished over 500 with an overall record, third overall in the conference, but got to consider you're playing Kent City and Moy Stanwood twice. Each of those are losses, but overall, Kent City, winners of the entire CSAA tournament. They had firepower everywhere. The top team as far as both divisions are concerned at a 5.37 MPR. They were dominant as well. Moy Stanwood had some incredible athletes, and they really put on a show. Some of them going to the next level upcoming at the college level. They're going to have some rebuilding to do, losing a lot of those key starting 6. So we'll see what they have, and Coach Kozak will have in mind to try to really piece this team coming this year.
Yeah, most definitely. Really impressive top 2 teams between Kent City and Morley Stanwood, both with those 7 wins in conference, only losing once in conference. But when you kind of take a step back and look at White Cloud, you kind of highlighted how this is a team that was 4-4 in conference and they had an above 500 record out of conference. This is a team that has the ability to take a jump. And if, like you're talking about, if Morley Stanwood takes that step back, maybe White Cloud's able to jump on that ability to get to second or even potentially win the CSAA White. It's definitely an intriguing what they have going out there in White Cloud.
Very intriguing indeed. We'll see what personnel they have this coming year for camp and how they can put their best 6 together on the floor. And especially speaking of Moy Stanwood success, the only team that got to the regional round, they fell in the regional final to Pewamo, as I like to call them, Pewamo, Westphalia. The Pirates there in the regional final, where the CSAA-Red, you had Reed City as well as, I believe, Grant, the only teams that made it to the district final from last year. So really impressive stuff from the Mohawks this last year. Kent City also made it to the district final, falling to West Michigan Christian out of Muskegon there in their final postseason match. And then you had Central Montcalm and Lakeview, the other 2 teams in the CSAA White. Central Montcalm had some big wins. They really had a couple big wins this year, played really similar to what their NPR standard would say. So you look at the numbers of a team's a little better on paper. They lost. If they were better than the team on paper, they won. A very, very predictable season overall. And then Lakeview just really struggled to try to keep that momentum, keep that consistency on the floor going through their season. And so those are things that are going to be improved, and I think Coach Bunker is going to do a good job of building that program around with what they got. So those 2 teams, we'll see what they have in store in conference, but overall they competed very well in some matches this year.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Lakeview sits in the exact same situation as Tri-County. Those are teams who have to start winning now, and if they are able to win now, then they're able to start this rebuild and officially, get into the era of starting to win games and be competitive within the conference. But a team like Central Marcom, you highlighted a couple big wins. This is a 2-6 team that played better outside of the conference at 11-14-2. They definitely had some ability to win some big games where they just weren't able to get it done. This is easily a team that could have been 500 out in general, just not talking about conference play, but they played some key games and were able to, stay close with some of these teams that they definitely could have won. And one I'll just highlight White Cloud on September 17th of last season to a White Cloud team that was 4-4 in conference. You easily flip that, and there you go. You're tied for third place in conference, and that's a huge thing. Numbers matter so much in standings. It's just a huge momentum swing for a team going to the playoffs.
For sure. And Lakeview was a team that was very competitive despite their records extending a lot of these matches into the fourth and even sometimes the fifth set. You mentioned that White Cloud match as well. And really, in the CSAA-White, we saw a lot of them, almost more than the CSAA-Red, a lot more competitive across the board in conference. And speaking of some of those individual standouts from the CSAA-White, let's give them to you right now from this last year. Carly Bacon, what a great name out of Central Montcalm as the senior for the Hornets. Caden Perkins out of the Eagles of Kent City. Hannah Cruzan and Haley Brown, a pair from the Indians. Both seniors will be departing the Indian program this year. Brooke Moore out of Moy Stanwood, followed by Piper Kozak, a pair of seniors. And Alexis Martin will be coming back as a junior. Then you have Kaylin Hartzell of Kent City and Kendall Stout of Central Montcalm. Only one returner going back out of the CSAA-White first team list to their respective team, that being Alexis Martin. So there's going to be a lot that's going to be happening with these roster rebuilds this upcoming fall. Now, that's not necessarily saying you're putting a whole new six out there, but some of those starters that you've been having for the last 3 years now are gone, so they're going to have to see some step up, and a lot of them for these top teams last year, such as Moy Stanwood and Kent City.
Yeah, most definitely. And on this whole show, I think that's the most intriguing thing we talked about is the only one first team returner for the CSA White. And that's really going to benefit a team like Morley Sandwood, where you have the experience of a first teamer. They know what it takes to be a first teamer, and they can spread that around and share the love with other teammates. But this is definitely a wide open race, especially just in general for the conference standings, and then even for your first team and honorable mention. There's going to be a lot of people who got to step up and take that next step forward to be your conference champion.
Absolutely. Leadership is going to be a key portion, especially for these teams looking forward. Looking at the honorable mentions now, Abigail Rushmore for Lakeview, a senior, departing as an honorable mention all-conference honoree. Becca Herkaway from Central Montcalm as a junior. Lainey Hoffman, also a junior from Kent City. Madeline Kozak, a sophomore from Moy Stanwood for the Mohawks. And then Brooklyn Fundel of the White Cloud Indians as a senior will be departing. So key people going to be out for their respective teams, but we'll see what these coaches have in mind for this upcoming year. So I think especially when you look at some of these teams, you look at Lakeview, Central Montcalm, how do those young players step up? How does the experience help those teams, right? For Coach Mullenberg and Coach Bunker. I think especially for White Cloud, they rode a lot of momentum from that leadership and experience last year. Will they have a little bit of a skid with some of the losses up front in the leadership? And then for Moy Stanwood and Kent City, the talent rebuild and reload is certainly going to be something to watch.
Yeah, most definitely. Those are the two teams. You put a highlight, you put an asterisk next to them. Those are the teams you're watching this fall, most definitely.
It's going to be a fun race indeed for CSAA Volleyball. We'll be covering parts of that on the rundown here throughout the fall season to complement our football coverage here on the network. So make sure you subscribe. Big Rapids Daily News on YouTube, as well as get that preset dialed to News Radio WBRN 107.7 FM every week on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. That's going to do it for us. Brandon Wirt, Jack Heckman will be signing off. Big thanks goes out to Dazos Digital as well. If your business needs advertising needs, digital streaming, the whole 9 yards, you can find out all the options, DazosDigital.com. Jack, any last words for the people?
Nope, this should be an exciting volleyball season.
Absolutely. It's going to be here before we know it. Obviously, this is the week that we just went through, right? If all those listening on the radio, if you're watching this week, camp, official practices, and tryouts are underway. So these teams are ready to rock and roll, and we are too. So stay with us. Be sure to subscribe and follow, and we'll see you next time here on the Big Rapids Media Network, The Rundown.